Welcome into Pirate Talk, a new dimension on Bonesville, and it's kind of developed from the Bonesville Pregame podcast, but so much is going on with college football nowadays that we felt like this was a good addition program-wise for the Bonesville website. Al Myatt here, and joined by Kevin Monroe, of course. Kevin, an outstanding defensive back in his playing days, culminating as captain on the 1999 team that had such an illustrious season. And Kevin on Pirate Radio for 23 years, and now playing the dad role in large part with his younger son, Derek, an outstanding player at Green Level High School, and his older son, tight end Marcus Monroe, recently signed with Stanford. But Kevin, that bowl game in Annapolis, that East Carolina was a 12.5 point underdog to Pitt, really came out in an amazing fashion, I thought. 23-17 win for the Pirates, and playing without their starting quarterback, playing without their top rusher, their second leading receiver, and everybody just stepped up, particularly the defense, and a great bowl victory for the Pirates.
Yeah, Al, it was interesting. You know, coming into that game, the Pitt players and coaching staff and fans had so much to complain about, right? They lost getting into the ACC championship game by a tiebreaker. So they were disgruntled that they didn't make the ACC championship game. Then they thought they should have been in a better bowl. And then they thought they should have been playing a better opponent, right? So they're playing a non-Power 5 opponent. They're obviously a Power 4 team, a Group of 5 opponent, rather, and they're a Power 4 team. So it just seemed like everything that came out of their camp was how disappointed they were to be in this game. And if I'm honest with you, it showed. And we thought maybe we'd catch them off guard because, you know, maybe they weren't prepared for the Pirates. Maybe they didn't know a whole lot about the Pirates. Maybe they didn't expect us to play defensively the way that the Pirates played in that game. But yeah, it seemed like the Pirates were the team that wanted that game more, and they played that way the entire game. And you know, with Chasten Ditta getting the start, this was not a Caden Hauser, you know, run football team in that bowl game. And Caden, you know, he made the offense go this season. I mean, he was the decision maker. He made all the throws, and I know he's gone now. And I just say all that to say, this is not a game against a Power 4 team that the Pirates were supposed to win. And so to come into that game with the mentality that, you know, we're worried about the name on the front of the jerseys, not the name on the back, and we're going to rally together and do what we do and run the football, pass when we need to, and play, shut down, get after your butt defense. And that's the other thing, is that with the defensive coordinator gone, now Coach Harrell was calling the plays, and Coach Harrell is known for dialing up blitzes, and boy, did he dial up a lot of them. And so they were getting after that quarterback, who was only a freshman. They were getting after him all game long. And so it made for a long day for that Pitt team, especially their offensive team.
Good points, Kevin. And, of course, 5 turnovers generated by the Pirate defense. And I know Pitt may have been disappointed. Miami didn't play for the ACC championship, and they've gotten over their disappointment rather well. So they'll play for the national championship Monday, January 19th. But Pitt came into the game, and they had some real good wins this year. They went to Georgia Tech and beat the Yellow Jackets, and I think that might have been their best win. And they had some letdowns too with losses to Notre Dame in particular. Yep. And they lost to Miami, I think, in Pittsburgh. But Chasten Ditta, you know, he really lacked for experience, and that was obvious at times. But he hung in there, and he kept giving it his best effort. And thank goodness Anthony Smith was on the field, because he lofted it up there a couple of times, and Anthony Smith was able to get under it
Yeah.
and went for a touchdown, 47 yards and 72 yards, I believe. And those were huge factors for the Pirates. Marlon Gunn gave it his best shot as a senior. And I'm surprised that there wasn't more criticism of the official that blew the inadvertent whistle, because that was potentially a game changer. 2 plays later, East Carolina had its only turnover. Dutta got stripped, and they scooped and scored for the Panthers on that one to take the lead. But to East Carolina's credit, they came back, regained the lead, led the rest of the way, and I pointed out, I was mentioning to you, and thanks to Malcolm Gray, who does such a great job as the sports information contact for football at East Carolina. But East Carolina was 9-0 this season when scoring first. Mm-hmm. And so when you go 9-4, that's a pretty good indicator that you're of the outcome. So, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make is the inexperience of Chasten Dutta. East Carolina didn't throw in the towel and let that be a decisive factor in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he had 177 yards passing, 156 of those went to Anthony Smith. And so, and I think they were mostly on 2 throws. And so, he found the guy when he needed to find the guy, and he kept the turnovers down. Obviously, he had the fumble. But yeah, I mean, that Marlon Gunn run, first of all, it was miraculous. I mean, it was just an unbelievable play. It's a 4th down and short, I believe. He's just trying to get the first down. He manages to get that. He's headed towards out of bounds, but he's wrapped up. And now I can say I feel bad for the official because it was a mistake. He owned up to it. He said it's an inadvertent whistle. He didn't mean to blow the whistle. I don't know if he thought he was going out of bounds. I don't know if he thought his momentum was stopped. I'm not really sure, but he blew the whistle on accident. So it wasn't like it was a bad call, as is normally what we get mad at officials about. He didn't throw his flag. He just blew the whistle. And when you blow the whistle, the play has to stop. It's like when you're playing pickup basketball and someone says traveling or someone says foul and people stop. Well, you can't keep playing and go make a bucket because a call has been made. And it's very similar to that. So it's like the whistle blew. Who knows if anybody stopped? It looked like everybody kept playing to me. But if one person stopped, then that's enough to call that play back. And so it was just unfortunate the way it played out. I hated it in real time. I thought it was, just a bad deal. And the Pirates had gotten robbed. And you would think that would be enough to just say we can't overcome Pitt and the officials. And that would have, but that happened at the 4:33 mark in the game. I believe. And then, like you said, about 30 seconds later, the strip sack, and they score. And so it was just these turn of events that was like, oh my God, what are they going to do? And the Pirates came right back with the Anthony Smith score. So, it was really cool to see them respond the way they did. The way that Marlon Gunn ran the football in that game was so impressive. His last game as a Pirate. And as you said, Chasten didn't do a ton, but he didn't lose us the game. And he got the ball to his playmakers, which is what a good quarterback should be doing. And so give him a lot of credit.
The seniors, Marlon Gunn Jr. and Anthony Smith, both of those guys stood out in the game. Smith was the MVP in his home state there, so a great way to go out. But the point I'm getting to is seniors who sit out a bowl game to get ready for the NFL. I don't think either Anthony Smith or Marlon Gunn Jr. hurt their evaluations in terms of the NFL.
No, and I can see both sides of it. I say if you're a consensus top 10 pick coming into the draft, or maybe a no doubt first rounder, maybe you sit out. Maybe I saw it happen with the Smith kid. I think the Smith kid out of Notre Dame several years back that completely blew his knee out and just never recovered. Ended up getting drafted by the Cowboys in the 2nd or 3rd round and just had a bad career. And he should have been a top 10 pick. So I know what they're doing, and so you're really messing with your potential future income in playing in a game like that. But if you're somebody past the first round, when you're trying to improve your draft stock, you can't be scared of getting hurt. You have to go play. And so, yeah, I'm glad to see those guys go play. I can also see it in the portal, portion of it. A lot of people got on Caden Hauser, and said, if he would have just played in the bowl game, he would have shown he was a true Pirate. Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, if he was leaving, if he was out, if he was done playing at East Carolina, then if he goes out in that game and separates a shoulder or blows a knee, then his career is over. And so he had already made the decision that he was no longer going to be a Pirate. If that's the case, step aside, let somebody else step up. You go do your thing. You stay safe. You go, make your money. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. And, we saw that with Jamali Riddle. I would argue that Jamali Riddle was the best defensive player we had. He got hurt in the bowl game, has since had surgery. I think he's fine. It's an ankle, I think, and I think he's going to be 100% before he steps on his next campus. But that could have been much worse. It could have been an ACL, it could have been whatever. And, that would have hurt him in the portal. So, I see both sides of it. I understand why Pirate fans are upset that Hauser didn't play and London Montgomery didn't play. And, but those guys are now going to Illinois and Florida. And, they make the Pirate brand look great, putting out good players that can go play top football. But I do understand why people are upset about it.
And, you look back, Christian McCaffrey, I think he was one of the first to forego a bowl game to get ready for the NFL. And he certainly had an excellent pro career, running back now for San Francisco, coming out of Stanford those years ago. But putting the bowl game to rest, a great triumph for the Pirates, second straight military bowl triumph over an ACC team. And 2026, Kevin, is going to be a lot different in terms of personnel, players, and coaches. Yeah. And we've talked about the players who left before the bowl game, and Jamali Riddle has since announced that he's leaving, and it just an excellent safety for the Pirates, I thought, and really a leader from the defense by, I think, vocally and by example as well.
And we'll go through the list of guys that left. But in my personal opinion, the two people that you had to keep, that you really needed to keep to make this team a potential playoff team coming back next year from day one, was Caden Hauser on offense and Jamali Riddle on defense. Unfortunately, they both hit the portal. Now for Hauser, it's his, I guess, third stop. And, he'd been to a Michigan State before. He saw that, he started some games, but the writing was on the wall that he wasn't going to be the starter there. And so he dropped down, I won't say a level, just from power forward to group of five, still FBS football. And I think the Pirates and group of five football was his level. I can't begrudge him for going and getting the payday at Illinois, because this is going to be his last season. I don't know if he's the starter at Illinois, and I don't know how successful he is at that level in the Big Ten. I wish him well, but I'm not going to keep him from getting his money. And that's obviously the biggest part of moving. Jamali Riddle, I think he should have gone. I wish we'd have kept him, but he came to East Carolina. It's everybody's dream when you come play college football to get to the NFL. And the best way to get to the NFL is to play at the highest level and play well at the highest level. And so, he played well at East Carolina. And I'm hearing chatter about maybe Georgia being his landing spot, somewhere like that. I think he can go and play at that level and also play well. And if he does, he'll go to the NFL. And along with that, Georgia, or whoever it is going to pay him a lot of money. And so I don't begrudge him at all for taking that next step, helping his family, making that money, and going and play at the highest level. So those two guys were tough as a Pirate to lose. But I get it. And it's the land that we're living in now. It's the landscape of college football that we're in. And I think he's going to be a really good player for wherever he lands. And Caden may get his opportunity as well. They're not going to pay him a bunch of money and not give him a chance. So he could be the next quarterback at Illinois. We'll see how that pans out. But they're both going to play big-time football.
Well, Caden Hauser certainly bided his time through his first year at East Carolina, because Jake Garcia was a starter for half of the season, basically, and then Caton came in and took advantage of his opportunity. So I don't wish him any bad, and hope he does well. He certainly contributed for East Carolina during the time that he was here. But let's talk a little bit about personnel changes.
Yeah.
And the new offensive coordinator is Jordan Davis.
Yep.
And there are a lot of staff changes and transfer portal arrivals related to Jordan Davis.
Yeah, so we'll start with Jordan Davis, and they were the highest scoring offense in college football this past season, and he was a large part of that. Although he did not call the plays in every game, he was the guy behind the scenes, choosing the players, or the receivers, the running backs, the linemen, getting people in position, and making sure that people were coached up going into the game. But everyone said that he was kind of a sharp mind over at UNT, and had his opportunity waiting. And then in that bowl game with the head coach gone, he was able to call the plays, and they scored 49 points against a solid defense, and winning that bowl game. And so I think there's big things ahead for Jordan Davis, and incoming with him is another coach, wide receiver coach, Juan Soto, who will be our new wide receivers coach after Dyrell Roberts left to go to Wake Forest. And Dyrell, another guy that I wish nothing but the best for. He's been at East Carolina for several years, and obviously through Mike Houston's staff and with Coach Harrell, and has done a phenomenal job. The Pirates have had nothing but the best receivers year in and year out, and he's part of the reason for that. He's a players coach. All the guys love him. He's the one that offered my son, so I have some bias to him in terms of his scholarship at East Carolina, my youngest. And so I wish nothing but the best for Darrell, and he's going to be the new wide receivers coach at Wake Forest, and the Pirates will have Juan Soto. Also, the players that came from UNT, wide receiver Landon Sides, who has put up some solid numbers. I think he only has 1 year left at East Carolina, but he put up some big time numbers. He's both a punt returner and a wide receiver, and was a big part of their offense over this past year. And then running back Ashton Gray, and Ashton Gray is a younger guy. I think he's got a couple years left to play. And so those two came in with Coach Jordan Davis, as well as Juan Soto. So definitely, North Texas has their stamp on the Pirates for this upcoming season.
And then, Kevin, a new offensive line coach coming in. I thought, talking about Roberts, the job he did with the wide receivers, I thought Matt Maddox was excellent with the offensive line, and maybe you don't appreciate his efforts until you reflect back on what the offensive front was doing in some years past.
Yeah, and we had two Pirates that have left the program that were offensive linemen, and Emmanuel Poku and Jamarian McCrimmon, and both those were all conference players, and that's definitely has something to do with that was Matt Maddox. And so Matt Maddox left to go to North Texas, so he kind of swapped roles there, and we brought in Alex Hutel from ODU. I don't know a whole lot about Coach Hutel, but he's a coach that Coach Harrell is very excited about, and we think that we've got some offensive linemen coming back, as well as at least one in the transfer portal. We brought in, I'm trying to remember his name. I'll get it in a second here, but we brought in another offensive lineman in the portal, I believe from Northern Arizona is where he came from. But so Coach, I don't know how to pronounce that, Hotel, Huddle, one of the two, but he's coming in from Old Dominion, and they speak very highly of him. So we're excited about him. Sad to see Coach Maddox go, but definitely looking forward to Coach Huddle, coming in and making things happen on the offensive line.
And Kevin, the new defensive coordinator, the dominoes have not fallen on defense to the extent that they have on offense. But that Memphis staff, Ryan Silverfield, went to Arkansas, and so they're having the same type of turmoil maybe is not the best word, but certainly realigning their staff. And the defensive coordinator, I know that Blake Harrell, I feel like he's done an excellent job. He was the defensive coordinator in both military bowls that East Carolina won. But certainly for him to make a hire, he has to have respect for somebody that he's faced their defense to bring them in.
Yeah, Jordan Hankins, both new coordinators named Jordan, one spelled O-N, one spelled A-N, but he's coming in from Memphis, and Memphis has always been solid on defense. Even the game the Pirates won against them this year, it was tough. It was tough getting points, and the Pirates ended up winning it on a last minute throw there to Peyton Mangrum in the end zone to win that football game. But they were solid on defense. They were up towards the top of the conference on defense all year long. So I think Hankins is a good get for the Pirates. Before Hankins was hired, I sent a message to Coach Harrell and I said, listen, for my money, you're the best defense coordinator in the conference, and I would love for you to keep calling the plays, no matter who you hire. And so who knows if he'll take my advice. Maybe he'll do like the North Texas head coach and call the offense as he was doing, and call the defensive plays, because I just love the pressure he dials up. He always has somebody coming from somewhere. He'll blitz corners, he'll blitz safeties, he'll blitz both linebackers, and he just keeps pressure on quarterbacks, especially younger quarterbacks. The Mason kid from Pitt he was on his heels all game long, running from pressure, and we didn't see that pressure most of the season. Not to take anything away from the job that Coach Aldridge did. He didn't believe in blitzing as often as Coach Harrell does. And so, so we'll see how Coach Hankins does. I think he'll be a solid coach. He's already proven that he can do it at this level. So we're excited about him.
Well, very good. And of course, ECU continues to work the portal, and there may be more staff changes imminent. We'll just have to see. But September 5th, Kevin, East Carolina will open the 2026 season at Alabama. And I think you played in the only previous Pirate Crimson Tide matchup that I recall. That was in 1998 at Legion Stadium. This contest will be in Tuscaloosa, Legion Stadium, the old structure there in Birmingham. But Alabama, not one of their best teams this year, decisively defeated by Indiana in the Rose Bowl. But in terms of talent, they generally get a lot of who they want, and that will be a very tough opening assignment for the Pirates.
Yeah, so I did play in that game, and I'll be honest with you, Al, that's probably one of the most talked about games amongst my peers and former teammates of any of them. And I'm sure you were at the game. I know you traveled to a lot of games back in the day, but if you'll remember, I want to say the final score was like 23-22 or 24-23, something like that. And the Pirates missed a field goal, missed an extra point, and had an extra point blocked and taken back for 2 points.
Well, what I remember is East Carolina scored 3 touchdowns and kicked a field goal in that game, and they lost. Alabama just scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But the difference was that blocked extra point went back for 2 points.
That's right.
And Andrew Bays, I think he was either kicking or was the holder, because there was some problems with Bradley, the field goal kicker at that time. And I think, anyway, Andrew Bays will tell you today that return man stepped out of bounds on about the 9-yard line. I'm pretty certain that I've heard that from him, and maybe more than once. But
yeah,
you're not going to get that call, I guess, on the road. But East Carolina made a great comeback in that game, because Alabama had the lead. And that was not a great Alabama team. Mike DeBose was the coach, and he's not gone down in coaching lore there like Nick Saban or his predecessor there, Gene Stallings.
Or Bear Bryant.
Championship. And, of course, Bear Bryant, nobody can walk in his shadow. But that was in some ways, I think the feeling was it was just an opportunity that East Carolina missed.
That's
on
right.
That particular Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, Forrest Foster, one of my good friends, the opposite corner to me, had a pick 6 in that game. But yeah, Andrew was the holder because Brantley was still kicking. But that
Okay.
was the last game that Brantley kicked, and
Okay.
his performance in that game was the reason why. And Andrew became the kicker going forward. He was the kicker and the punter in that '98 season. And then later, I think that next year is when Kevin Miller came in, and Kevin Miller came in and took over the kicking duties. But yeah, Andrew kicked the rest of that '98 season. But yeah, it left a bad taste in our mouth. And they still had some good players. It was Alabama. They had Sean Alexander, who goes down as one of the greatest college running backs of all time. So they were tough. They just didn't have much of a quarterback and much of a passing game. And but yeah, so yeah, I played in that game. It'll be fun to get back out there. For the Pirates to get back out there. I won't be out there. The Pirates get back out there to give another go against Alabama. Obviously, in a much different scenario. Alabama is now a top 10 program perennially, and so we'll see how the Pirates match up against them.
Well, Kevin, thinking back to that matchup with Alabama, really good effort and the feeling that one got away, that opportunity. But the next week was turned into a beatdown at Southern Miss. And I made a point, I think, on the show earlier this year about the difficulty in back-to-back road trips like that. And fortunately, East Carolina does not have a road trip, but whatever happens in Tuscaloosa, East Carolina is going to have to regroup the following week. They'll play Appalachian State at home, and Appalachian State has been the dominant team in the series lately.
Yeah, that's a good point. Southern Miss, they were our nemesis. They were the team that kept us over winning Conference USA. And I never, in my 5 years, I never got a victory over Southern Miss. I think the Pirates might have beaten them in '95 when I was a true freshman, but I wasn't playing. But we certainly did not beat them the following 4 years, from '96 to '99. They beat us every year, and some of those years it was handily. The '99 game was close. Matter of fact, we had a 17-point lead at home, and they came back and won, which is another game that I think about more than I should. But yeah, they were our nemesis, Southern Miss, and so Coach Bauer, I believe it was, he had those guys rolling in the mid to late '90s, and they should have never gotten rid of him. A lot of people say the Pirates should have never gotten rid of Coach Logan. Same deal. They should have never gotten rid of him, and they haven't been the same since. I would say Virginia Tech is probably the other team that I played more than twice that we never beat. Pretty much everybody else, if we played them, 2 or 3 times, we got at least one victory in there. We won 2 out of 3 against State when I was there. We were 2-0 against Miami when I was there. We beat Duke. We beat South Carolina at least once. So we had some big victories. Beat West Virginia while I was there, and so that Southern Miss program really had our number. So it's been a while since we've played them consistently or at all because they no longer in our conference. So it'll be, as you say, if the Alabama game doesn't go well, hopefully they can bounce back and get a nice win. They'll play App State, I think, the following week, but get a nice win against that team instead of having the Alabama game beat them twice, as you said.
Well, and there's always the possibility that they could beat Alabama, and then you got to come down from cloud 9 and play an in-state rival. So either way, it's going to be a challenge. And then going to ODU, and they've been pretty good the past several years, Old Dominion, and that'll be the 3rd game next year. And then they'll host North Carolina Central to complete that non-conference portion of the schedule. So a lot to look forward to, and going to be looking forward to doing Pirate Talk with you on occasion, Kevin. As I mentioned at the outset, there's a lot to talk about in the off season, particularly under the current circumstances in college football, but we'll look forward to that.
I agree, Al, and I know we're closing up on this. I will say that I think the Pirates have done a solid job trying to recoup what they lost in the portal. 13 players left the program through the portal, not counting the seniors. And as of this date that we're recording this show, they've signed 12. And I would say the weakest part of the defense, in my opinion, the weakest part of the team probably was the secondary a year ago, specifically at cornerback. They've signed 3 cornerbacks. They've signed 2 safeties. So they signed 5 defensive backs since the portal opened. So that's going to be huge. They lost both tight ends, Javante Connor and Desario Riles. They've signed 2 tight ends to replace those guys. So that's good. They lost both Yannick Smith in the portal, but they also lost Anthony Smith and to declaring for the draft. They will get Brock Spalding back, but those 2 guys, they've signed 3 wide receivers, from schools, and including one from Miami. So that kid could end up not getting the national championship ring. How about that? Hopping in the portal. So we'll see how that pans out. But I think they've done a good job of replacing. And you never know what these portal kids will do. We've gotten portal players for a long time, and I can count on my hands the ones that have panned out, being really, really good, like a Caden Hauser. So hopefully, they will bring in some good players, and this thing will turn back around, or keep going rather. The one position that the jury's still out on is quarterback. They did sign a player as of yesterday in Mitch Griffiths. He was a starter at Wake Forest for a while before going to Texas Tech. Didn't play much at all at Texas Tech. I don't know if he's the guy. I don't know if he's a better player than Chasten Ditta. So we'll have to hang in there to see if they sign another quarterback to see if that makes a difference. But as of now, with Jeter leaving, with Mike Wright leaving as a senior, Hauser leaving, you lose 3 of your 4 quarterbacks, and so they've got Ditta and this new kid Mitch Griffiths as it stands. And so we'll see if they bring in another one here before the portal closes in another week.
Well, Griffiths started after Sam Hartman went to Notre Dame from Wake Forest, and he started 9 games and struggled to a degree. Wake Forest was 4-8 that year, and Griffiths left the program, went to Marshall, but he didn't play it at Marshall, and left Marshall and just spent a year out of football. And then I think Texas Tech contacted him. He had some good spot appearances. I think even started a game during their unbeaten regular season. So maybe his experience away from football. One of the criticisms was that his height. He couldn't see over the oncoming rush. And I think he had 9 touchdowns and 7 interceptions the year that he started for Wake. And I think that would have been 23. They were 4-8. But, it's tough to say how much growth an individual might have made when he has just been limited to a backup role. But he's older and wiser now, obviously, and that could definitely be to East Carolina's benefit.
No question. And anytime you get a quarterback that started at the Power 4 level, which he has now for 2 universities, as you say, they've got something in them to become good if they put the work in. So look forward to seeing how he does. One other player I wanted to mention, Michael Allen out of J.H. Rose. He was offered by East Carolina, I think, as a 9th grader, maybe 10th grader. Was stud running back. Ended up going to NC State. That didn't last long. He left for NC State and went to UNLV. Was there for a little while. I think they had a coaching change, hopped in the portal again, and landed at Marshall. And so he comes to us from Marshall. He's got 1 year left of eligibility. So between him and Ashton Gray from North Texas, and then Trevor Engelman Jr., I think they'll be battling for the starting running back role with Parker Jenkins gone, London Montgomery gone, Marlon Gunn gone. We'll see if Michael Allen can show us what he showed the Pirates, I guess now 5 or 6 years ago as a freshman in high school.
Well, that's right. I remember he was a highly recruited player, and maybe being back in Greenville will be something that will boost his performance as well. Well, Kevin, I guess I'm glad we got that last bit of information in there. And one thing I would add about Mitch Griffiths is that I'm told that he spent his year away from football pouring concrete part of that time. And so he may have figured out that playing football was a better means to earn a living. So
nothing like manual labor to get you refocused.
That's right. That's right. All right, we'll wrap it up for Pirate Talk, this first edition. And as always, thank you, Kevin, and we'll look forward to talking next time.
Appreciate it, Al.